And we're back once again, only on this last call. Last call at the alcohol, only on the lastcallpodcast.com. And join me here, ladies and gentlemen. Well, if you follow college football, you got to listen to these two because they are in tune with everything, not just the playoff picture, not just the transfer portal. They go even farther deep inside where recruiting bases, recruiting classes, what's going on with player evaluations. They are the new version, dare I say, of Todd McShay and Phil in a even Mel Kiper in terms of player analysis. I give you it's two men who, well, they're rising up the ranks here. I give you it is Daniel and Dalton of Home Squad Sports. So, Jim, let's start off here with the thing that's on everybody's mind here, and that's right. We finally have a college playoff of brackets, and there was some hemming, there was some hawing. We'll start with you, Dalton, then go with you, Daniel. Did they get it right, or are there even teams that you're looking at going, yeah, they shouldn't be in here?
I mean, of course, two group of five schools. Everybody's always complaining about that, and I'm with them. I mean, Oregon gets a glorified bye game, pretty much. I think, in everybody's opinion. And then Tulane, Ole Miss being a rematch of a game that Ole Miss won by 35. Yeah, different coaching circumstances, but same players. Probably not going to be much different result. And then Alabama, man, I don't think they deserved it the way they ended the year, barely beating Auburn and not putting up a fight against Georgia. They can't run the ball at all. I expect Oklahoma to beat them again. Besides that, I like it. I mean, I think Notre Dame should have been in over Alabama for sure. But besides that, I think I like the rest of the bracket.
What about you, Daniel? I mean, because are you somebody who believes, hey, yes, the Power Five conferences should get in, or are you looking at this going, oh, great, we're going to get Tulane, Ole Miss Part Two. How much are we going to win by? It's like 35 points now, 30 points. Will JMU get run out of the building, what is your stance on the Power Five and Alabama being a three-loss team in here?
Yeah, I thought Alabama should maybe got booted. I know a lot of people are happy to see Notre Dame not being in, but I do believe they're better than Alabama. I mean, they cannot run the ball. I don't think they got this the layout right because it was never set up to be right, just because the rules aren't right. So I think I don't know. I don't even know if they got as close as they could. We have two G5s in here, and we have an ACC school. So I've been saying all year, just this year, I don't think there should have been a G5 or an ACC school in. But we could be here 12 months from now, banging on the table saying two G5 should be in and two ACC teams should be in, but just not this year. But yeah, Alabama, I just don't think they deserve it. You got to run the ball to win, and they've always been known to run the ball. The black hoodie, Kalen DeBoer look, I think, is kind of ran out its luck and ran its course. So yeah, I just don't think they got it right. I am curious about the Ole Miss, Lane Kiffinless Ole Miss versus Tulane, and then you got Summerall heading to Gainesville to Dalton's Florida Gators. We'll see how bought in he is.
Yeah.
Stay.
Go for it. Go for
No,
it.
you got over my apologies, Dalton. You jump in right after.
Okay, I just have one more thing about the ACC. I mean, their tiebreaker being stupid is really what screwed Notre Dame because I mean, it should have been Miami should have had the auto bid, and then James Madison wouldn't have been in the field. It would have been the next, team that was left out. And that was Notre Dame. So the ACC stupid rules of allowing Duke in there somehow. The worst of the five teams with two losses in the ACC screwed the whole playoffs really from being a better event.
So here's the big question, and I get it. We're trying to be parity, but why is Ohio State the number two, the second seed overall? I get it. They're a great team, but when you look at it, are you surprised they didn't go like, okay, you know what? We're gonna put instead Texas A&M because they went undefeated till the final week, or hey, we're gonna put, dare I say, even Oklahoma in because they have more power wins. I mean, are you surprised that Ohio State, which outside of Indiana, they haven't played a top even 15 team, but they literally are still deemed, yeah, you're a number two seed overall.
Well, I think they could have. I wouldn't have been surprised, and I wouldn't have made up a fuss if they would have flip flopped Georgia and Ohio State. If they would have had Georgia at two and Ohio State at three after the loss, I really wouldn't have been too upset about it. Texas A&M, I don't know. I think Texas A&M has a few more holes. I don't. I think with number two, I think they just got it off by one. I think you would have to drop Ohio State down to three because Georgia is playing really good football right now. if Texas Tech was at like 3, I would say definitely Ohio State should still be ahead of them, even after the loss. But with it being Georgia, I was kind of surprised that they weren't at 2, to be honest. Even though I think Ohio State's still going to run the table.
Yeah, people talk about SEC bias all the time, and Georgia goes out, loses one game, same amount of games Ohio State loses in the SEC, and wins the conference, and they're 3 seed, and Ohio State's 2. So it's
Yeah,
kind of just throwing that out there. Maybe it's not a real thing. It's not anymore. The past couple of years, I mean, you back to back Big Ten champs, and then this year the favorite to Big
I
Ten
think
teams again.
I think the SEC bias. I think maybe the only thing that holds weight with this picture is just letting Bama in. But maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Who has the best bracket of all the teams right now? You can from 1 to 12. Like when you look at this, which team do you look at and go, this they have a clear path to not just the semis, but the finals. Like, they don't have to worry about running into, let's say, a murderer's row. We'll start with you, Daniel, then we'll go with you, Dalton.
Man, I'm really torn. Oregon's got a first 2 rounds that I really would favor them in. I think Dan Lanning is ready to prove how tough his team is in the next few weeks. I really wouldn't be surprised if we saw Oregon, obviously beat JMU and then turn around and beat the Red Raiders just because, I think it's a baby steps thing. I don't think, yeah, this is their first time in the CFP in this new era. Are they really ready to get a win this year? I'm a little on the fence about that. But as far as going all the way, as the whole thing just looks pretty favorable for them, the road, at least because Oregon would have to run into Indiana. I don't think they'd beat them. Maybe a good game, getting that rematch. But I have Ohio State, man. I mean, I think you look at Miami and Texas A&M; those are 2 teams that have quarterbacks that are just known to make big mistakes when the lights are really, really bright. And Carson Beck, you could argue, yeah, he's raised the trophy, but he just really hasn't been the same, in my opinion, since that elbow injury. But you could make a case for Georgia. I mean, you could make a case for Georgia, maybe, if it depends on how good you think they can match up against Ohio State. What do you think, Dalton?
I was going to say, I really don't think any team has more than one easy game this year,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah, yeah. There's always something like along the line that it's like, okay, well, that you have to take into that consideration, and that makes me a little less confident. So, what do you think, Chris? Do you think there's any team that you think that's gonna, not sweat too much?
I mean, it looks like they did almost Texas Tech a favor. Like, all right, you don't have to play a first round game.
Yeah,
You get Oregon, which hasn't faced a pass rush at all, like what Texas Tech can do. Then you get maybe Indiana, but will they survive their matchup against Oklahoma, Alabama winner? That's a whole different ball of wax. And then, by the time they get to the finals, Oregon, either Georgia, Ohio State, maybe Ole Miss. Those teams are going to get just beaten up. So to me, it's Texas Tech. But again, we'll start with you, Dalton, then you, Dana. Like 2024, Notre Dame came out of nowhere. We went, okay, didn't see that on our bucket list. So which team wouldn't surprise you if they all of a sudden became like the Cinderella darling, but all of a sudden they're in the finals and you're like, yeah, we should have seen it, but we didn't realize it.
Lane Kiffin was still no miss, probably them, but I can't be Bama. They don't have a good enough run game. A&M, I don't trust the QB. Same Miami. It'd probably be Oklahoma, I guess, just because their defense, top to bottom, their defense is one of the best in the country. And then Mateer, if he turns it on, they could beat anybody. So I think Oklahoma is a team that could reach a championship, and we'd be like, how'd that happen? For sure, Oklahoma.
And Daniel, your thoughts? Like, who is your sleeper team that will be a Cinderella story coming out?
I think I don't know if we have a true Cinderella this year. I think we do have a team that's like, oh, we really should have respected this team more going in. It's Dan Lanning and the Ducks. I really do think they could get 2 wins here and not sweat. And then if you get an Indiana Hoosiers who's battered and bruised, going into the semifinal, and Oregon could put up a heck of a game in that rematch. I think if we see Oregon a couple drives away or a drive away from a national championship appearance, I don't think anyone should be as surprised as they would be, even though it's not a common thought. So, but yeah, Cinderella, like Tulane and Ole Miss, I think those are the 2 right there. They're like, if we're going to have a Cinderella, it's going to be one of those 2. I just don't. Tulane just they've gotten blown out a couple times. I don't know how they're here, but we do know how. But they shouldn't be. And then, like you said, if Lane was in here, man, Lane could really make a run at this thing, which makes me scratch my head. I wish he was coaching right now, but I think everyone's got their opinion on that. But I just think Oregon's the one team that could be, in the national championship, and I really wouldn't be as surprised as I would have been, after that Northwestern game where they could barely run the ball.
So last question, we'll start with you, Daniel, then you, Dalton. It seems like everybody's given up on Pete Golding, and I get it. Hey, he's never been a head coach. He doesn't look the part. He is sort of a throwback to what coaches were in terms of, he's, a lovable but salty dog. Why can't he do this? Why can't, a guy like this who the players seem to love, who has rallied them, to Old Miss and to stick with them and not just get the hell out of Dodge? Like, why can't he be the guy who all of a sudden we look at like Steve Fisher when he took over for Michigan, or even when Marcus Freeman took over for Notre Dame, and all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, he's pretty good. Why can't he be one of those guys? Why can't he shock the world with this team that seems to have taken on the mantra of, yeah, you don't believe us, we're going to prove you wrong?
I just think no one knows, and we have to find out if he's a coordinator or a head coach. We have to figure out if he's a true head coach or not, and we don't have any ramp up games to figure that out. His head coaching debut is in the playoffs. I mean, it's pretty crazy, and I think just the situation. I think that's kind of what's scaring people, and you just have to find out: is this guy a coordinator, just being a head coach, or is he a true head coach, just finally getting his call? Um, from what I'm hearing, a lot of guys love him, and a lot of guys are going to stay. I know because they're getting raises to stay at Ole Miss, but from what I hear, and a lot of guys love the guy, and I just think it's just unfamiliarity. You need time to get your feet wet as a true head coach. I know he's been on staff all year, but I think it's a little different when you're a bus driver instead of a rider. You know, I think I don't know. We haven't seen this guy coach be a head coach yet. I think that's the only reason why the questions come into play. We just have not seen it yet, and we get to see it on arguably the biggest stage they've been on all year. So I'm excited to see what happens. I'm not hating on them, and I don't hope wishing their downfall. I just would. It's like seeing a team coming here injured. Like this is not the full Ole Miss that got them there. So this could be still a good Ole Miss that make a run with a new head coach, but this isn't the Ole Miss that got him there, and we now just have to figure out what we got.
What about you, Dalton? You're also, from the South, so why can't Pete Golding turn into Shamar Moore, or even, as I mentioned before, Steve Fisher back in Michigan? Why can't he be the guy who takes over and is it the same thing as Daniel said? Is he just we're not sure if he's just a coordinator who players love, or he's a head coach in waiting that we never knew about?
I mean, I just think it's more of the matchup about against Kirby Smart. I mean, he's the best coach in the country. Second game ever being a head coach, you got to face Kirby. Maybe if he was on the other side against Texas Tech, Indiana, Alabama, Oklahoma, coaches haven't won anything before. But man, he's gonna have to face Georgia, and then if he beats them, he'll face Ohio State, another head championship winning coach. So I think it's just the caliber of coaches he has to go against on his side of the bracket. So if he had a better draw, he would have a better chance. But it's a really hard uphill battle for him, man.
Yeah, and I just think just to kind of just last bit on that, don't want to cut off anybody or keep going, but I just think Lane was the play caller right before he left, right? He was the one actually holding the clipboard and calling plays. And Trinidad Chambliss is a heck of a talent, but he has been put in a place to succeed all year by Lane Kiffin. So we just have to see if he's going to do that. The same thing with Lane with Chambliss. So that's just where I'm curious.
Well, we go from the college playoff to the recruiting classes, and you guys have dealt with this. So let me ask the big question. Before we get to the rankings, how tough is it figuring out how good a kid is? Because for every Uber kid we've heard, like, Charlie Ward to Tim Tebow to CJ Stroud, who, yeah, they live up to their hyping. There are the Mitch Mustaines, the Ryan Perrilloux, the Whitney Lewises, or even the Byron Coward for Auburn fans who are still remember, like, oh God. Yeah, we thought he was going to be the next like Cortez Candy, and he was just not good. So you guys deal with this. How tough is it trying to figure out how good a high school kid is when, rankings are subjective and you have no idea what happens when they actually get into college and actually start playing against adults?
Go ahead, Dalton.
I mean, a lot of it is so much goes into it. Like you said, it's pretty much a crapshoot. I mean, outside of a couple players a year, you're just going off. Man, this guy's from Florida, this guy's from Texas. He's playing really good competition and he's putting up decent numbers. Like that's the top recruits most of the time. And you have the guys dominating in the smaller states. For them to be top recruits, I mean, they're passing for 4,000 yards, rushing for 2,000, something like that. So it's production versus talent. And a lot of these schools they're looking for guys that are they can develop that aren't at their ceiling already. You got to look at that too. Sometimes it's hard to see on film, but you got to look for guys that are going against kids that are way less talented than them, way less skilled, and see can they translate that to the next level. This is really hard because Daniel knows he's watches every quarterback in the country last year and a lot of them this year. And some guys that are bottom of the class, just absolute ballers, better than some guys that are ranked because these guys that are ranked go to a big high school, go to camps, all that stuff. So it's about exposure too and who just like every other aspect in life. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's all about level of competition and schemes. Another thing too. That's a big reason why guys are either underrated or overranked. Cam Ward's a good example of that. He ran the triple option in high school, so that's a big reason why he was overlooked. And the rankings you got to take those with a grain of salt. Me and Dalton have definitely learned that while covering the sport. We go to a lot of the camps and we go to Elite 11s, and I mean one of our guys, Corey Daly, is a good example. Like we go into the camp we he's ranked like 56th or something like that in the nation. We put out a video of him. He's one of our top performers, and he was just named an All-American. He's 13th in the nation now. So it just raises so much. You can we try to do a part in raising those rankings, but you don't look at the rankings. These coaches just don't go look at 3 stars. There's a couple of guys in the 27 class quarterbacks that are unranked 0 stars that got SEC offers. So coaches know what they want. They don't just look at rankings, but yeah, that helps. And these I guess the 247 services and all those, they'll take your ranking as well if you're not out there putting your exposure. Jared Curtis, the guy who just flipped the quarterback to Vandy, so he was number 1 in the nation. And then he didn't go to the Elite 11 camps, didn't go to a couple of the other, quarterback camps. So they took that number 1 ranking from him because they didn't see him throw. They gave it to a guy named Dia Bell, who's Raja Bell's son, NBA player. So that's a good example. Like, if you're not out there, proving you're number 1, they'll give it to someone else. It's hard to scout these guys, but if you watch enough tape, guys just pop off the film quick. And then you have your developmental guys like, okay, this guy needs a couple years. Maybe he's going to redshirt the first year. Maybe he needs to go JUCO, FCS, D2, just to get reps in and get his body. So there's a lot of guys like that. I mean, there's so many guys in the transfer portal right now, FCS portal as well, that they just needed that year to get in the weight room. Maybe they didn't face a lot of good competition in high school, and they just needed to get coached up a little bit. But just to kind of answer your question more, it's hard to it's a crapshoot, like you said. It's like a draft pick. I mean, it's just loads of draft picks. Coaches are spoiled than ever. They can just go in the portal and get a guy who's been a D1 athlete for a year or two instead of having to develop him. So it just really depends on what kind of coach you got. There are still coaches out there who pride themselves on recruiting and high school players and developing those guys. And then there are those guys who is like, I'm just going to go shop, in the portal.
So let's talk about this. Today, the number 1 recruiting class goes to the USC Trojans. Was that a surprise for you guys? Were you surprised that, of all people, Lincoln Riley, who people are like, oh, maybe he'll leave, maybe he'll stay, we're not sure. Oh, he hates the place. No, he really says he loves the place. Were you surprised that he, of all people, landed the number 1 recruiting class according to most scouting agencies?
I was surprised. Yes, definitely. He was linked to saying he possibly wanted the Texas job if that came open, but that was quickly shut down. He was staying, and why wouldn't you stay when you had all these guys coming? I mean, he's got a loaded class. He's got a guy like Mark Bowman, tight end, coming in, he's probably going to start next year. Definitely, at least on 2 tight end sets and some third downs, he'll be in. They have a guy from IMG called Kenye Pepe, who's the number 1 tackle in the nation. And he's a huge dude, 6'7", 320. And then they also got a guy, on the inside, a stud in the name of Brett Kolajay from IMG Academy, who me and Dalton will be interviewing Wednesday night. He'll be on our show. So he's a part of the number one recruiting class. A crazy stat. I want to show you how crazy deep this USC class is. So they have 35 commits. If you remove every 3-star from their class, they still would have the number one in the nation. So this is unprecedented with USC. We just haven't seen this, in quite some time with them just pulling all these recruits. I think the future is really, really bright. It's always bright in sunny California, but I really do think if you hate USC, you better get your jokes out and now because they're going to be really tough these next 2 years.
Dalton, how did he do it? I mean, in your opinion, how did Lincoln Riley pull this off?
I mean, he definitely built from the inside. I mean, 7 old linemen in this class. All of them got a chance to start one day. So, built from the interior. They've always struggled on the interior. Lincoln Riley's had great quarterbacks, but, he doesn't have many linemen drafted early. So, it's like he's trying to change that, give his quarterback more time to throw. And I really like that. He couldn't get Chris Henry. There was a little bit of talk for about a day, him going to USC. But they did get Caden Dixon Wyatt over Ohio State, another receiver, 4-star, and he's a stud too. So just use the resources they have. I'm sure he had a lot of money to play with, but he used it right. And this team's going to be good for a while. I mean, this year, they were 1 win away from making the playoffs probably, and next year they might be right back in the same spot.
So this is a question for you, Dalton, since you're the resident Florida guy. If you're a Florida Gator fan, are you happy with what John Summerall did, considering he literally came in on the coattails of Lane Kiffin? It was sort of, hey, you're hired. Now, hey, by the way, you got a couple days to recruit these kids and bring them to Florida. Did he do enough to salvage the recruiting class? Are you happy, or is it still sort of TBD, to be determined?
I mean, 16th best class is not terrible considering he didn't lose anybody. He didn't lose any commits that we had under Napier. It's I don't know who that says more about yet. Summerall or Napier, or more about the brand. One of the three. But either way, I take the 16th best class. I'll take that right now. Top 25 is all I'm asking for this year with the new coach coming in. So the fact that he could close with that, I'm fine with it. I mean, we got a really good receiver, Davion Gross, coming in, and Justin Williams, athlete, is a stud receiver too. So our receiving core is going to be really deep if we have everybody coming back this year. If we're able to keep them from getting the portal, so I'm happy with Summerall's first go around. Really,
And Daniel will go with you. LSU, Lane Kiffin. There were some people who didn't want to even go near him from Ole Miss or even old Mississippi recruits because they were pissed what he did. He did land the number one kid in the class overall. So overall,
Yeah,
how did you like Lane Kiffin's recruiting class?
yeah, not a bad start just for being on the job, get the number one guy. So, yeah, I think he's going to be fine, man. I really do think he's going to be fine. If you didn't want Lane to succeed, maybe you would want him to coach the playoffs so he'd have less time to build up LSU because he's going to have them running quick, fast, and in a hurry. I think he's going to get Sam Levitt. So I think he's going to get Sam Levitt in the portal. That's my prediction. So I think he's going to have a great quarterback day one. How did he do it? He probably just flashed some national championship rings and a bunch of money at him. I mean, it's just not that hard when you have those LSU resources. That's why he went. When you go to LSU, I got to pick you up from the private jet, make some TikToks with you, say, come to the SIP, and we can only go to about 3 or 4 places until you realize Mississippi is not as cool as all these other places in the SEC or, everywhere. That's why he left. He didn't, I think he just reached his ceiling there, and it's just a harder sell. LSU is not as a hard sell as a Penn State, as a Florida right now, or as a Auburn, or maybe as a Notre Dame. Looking at it, I mean, hey, you win these games, you're still not in the playoff. That's going to be benefiting some schools that aren't Notre Dame. How do you do it? I just think Lane's a good people person. He's got that charm, and he flashes a couple of his national championship rings, paying him a big old bag of money. And those facilities in LSU speak for themselves, man. They build those things up for a reason. That's how I think he got it done.
So we'll go with Dalton first, and then you, Daniel. Give me some teams that you liked in terms of they did better than usual. Like some teams that we don't see in terms of the recruiting classes, and like we know that Notre Dame, Florida. Miami, LSU, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State. They'll always do well. We know that Oregon does well, and Texas. But give me some teams that you look went, damn, they had a pretty good recruiting class, and you usually don't see it from these teams.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Dalton.
Jed Fish at Washington. They got the number 12 ranked class. He hasn't had the best 2 years to start there. I don't think. Maybe met expectations, but definitely hasn't exceeded them. But that's a good class to start with them. North Carolina, Belichick trying to bounce back. Top 25 class from North Carolina. I think that's a little surprising after this year. If I was a high school guy, I would not want to go there. So I don't know how he was able to do that. So congrats to Belichick for being able to get that many players. And then James Franklin, Virginia Tech, able to get the 24th ranked class there. That's pretty impressive considering how long he had on the job. Got a lot of his Penn State commits to go to him. And lastly, I think West Virginia, 26. That's huge for Rich Rod's first class. 40 people in the class, 48 actually. So it's more depth and quality. But if you have that many guys coming in, surely some of them will hit and give you some star power. So those are the teams that I think did better than usual.
And Daniel, your picks?
Yeah, so a team that really stood out to me is just because I think they're in a really bad spot is South Carolina. South Carolina still to be able to hold on to Landon Duckworth, who's a heck of a quarterback coming out. Definitely expected him to go somewhere else after the season they've had. They got a guy like Jazavian Currents, who's a dog. He's a cornerback. Darius Gray, inside offensive lineman. To keep those guys was very surprising because I don't know if Beamer's going to make it through next year. And these guys have representation now, and I'm surprised some of those guys are not getting told that and maybe looking elsewhere because they may be forced into the portal next year. And then we got to look at Vanderbilt. I mean, look at Vandy. What is Vandy doing? And what's going on in Nashville? And they got Jared Curtis, who was number one quarterback. He's top five, definitely. So no discussion there. He finished the rating at 3. So the third quarterback in the nation coming to Nashville is insane. That just doesn't happen. It's one of the beauties in NIL. You look at Signetti, you look at Vandy, you look at Texas Tech, and it's like, wow, they could really turn things around. And it's one of the beauties. There is tons of problems. We could talk about the rest of the night, talk about how the system's broken. That is a good bright spot for Vandy to be able to get a good class like that. So I would say South Carolina, just because to retain the commits they've had was pretty surprising. And then Vandy's to do something we've never seen before.
Two East Coast teams going seemingly in different directions. Let's start with the one that seems to be rising up, Syracuse. ESPN has them ranked as the 27th best recruiting class. Not bad for a school that had, what, 3 wins, and most people are like, oh my God, they're horrible. How did Fran Brown do it? And should this team be in contention next year for a bowl game, health permitting with Steve Angeletti?
Oh yeah, that's my guy, Steve Angeli. I was huge on him coming out of Notre Dame. He beat Clemson last year, then he got hurt. He was about to have a good year. I think they're going to be respectable this season. I mean, Ricky Collins came in and he didn't look like he'd ever played quarterback before. Then they had Filardi, who was a lacrosse player. So yeah, they didn't play good at the end of the year, but that's why. I mean, Angeli was playing lights out. So I think if he comes back healthy and they get the receivers back that they have a lot of weapons on the outside. Demetrius Samuel coming back. Calvin Russell though decommitting. That was a big loss there. But I like Fran Brown. I like the future of Syracuse. I think this was just one down year. I think he can rebound. And ACC, it's definitely reboundable. I mean, there's no dominant teams anymore. Clemson's down. Florida State's down. Nobody's up really. So it's there for the taking if Syracuse could just get a good quarterback play and a solid defense.
What about you, Daniel? What is your take on is Fran Brown just like the recruiting whisperer, the guy who they poached from Ohio State?
Yeah, Fran Brown, I think I've kind of lost some cachet on some points with Fran Brown's with this recruiting. He lost Calvin Russell for a little bit because they signed some 26-year-old rapper to their team. I honestly, when I saw the graphic, I thought it was a joke. Thought he was dropping some album or something stupid, but they signed a rapper to their team, and he's 26 years old. He's not a stud athlete. So Calvin Russell, who is a absolute stud athlete, he is a wide receiver. He was 23rd in the nation, 6'5" receiver out of Miami Northwestern, and that's the school where Teddy Bridgewater was coaching at. and that's where he went. So they have loads of talent coming from South Florida. But Calvin Russell, I think he got a call from Fran Brown. Maybe they upped the bag a little bit. He ended up signing a couple days later. So I just think, but he's still got a lot of talent. I like the body type that he recruits. I will say that he likes big body receivers. He doesn't like small fast guys. He likes big body guys. He's got a Jarius Rogers coming in 6'4.5" edge. I mean, he's a beast. They just have a lot of guys that have some size on them, and then that just. But can it translate? We all thought Fran Brown was going to have him. He's getting blown out to finish the year, so it's just a little unlike the Fran Brown we saw last year with Kyle McCord. Yeah, you can throw in the quarterback drama there, and that you're always going to get some leeway and a longer leash. But yeah, another team we should have added in there, a great beauty of the NIL, Syracuse is now a team that you may have to worry about in the ACC for year in out or maybe every other year.
Let's talk about the real bad class. And that is also from the East Coast. And that is Penn State. And as we spoke earlier, on Tuesday with Will Thomas of Tailgate Talk SEC, they have a home run hire. They got Matt Campbell, who we saw as turned around a bad program in Iowa State, made them respectable, got him into major bowl games, had him in the top 15, can do more with less than almost any coach. The bad news was it took almost forever and their mother. Recruiting signing day is basically done. They lost almost everybody except for three recruits. If you're Matt Campbell, is there anything he could do to salvage this class, or is this for him like, okay, I better start hitting the JUCO ranks, transfer portal, and just some Hail Marys, and pray that somebody, I find that diamond in the rough somewhere. We'll start with you, Daniel, then you, Dalton.
Yeah, man. It's rated 155th in the nation. It's only two commits. So you're behind schools like South Dakota State, Murray State, who I don't think they got a win this year in the FCS. I think you're behind Weber State, Central Arkansas, who has a purple field. You're behind teams like Idaho State, Howard. Howard has a really good quarterback coming in, but it's just weird. I think it was by design. They threw in the towel. They knew they weren't going to get any late flips. They probably didn't even try to. They said, okay, this was going to be a total portal team. We have no choice. They're going to be turning over any rocks, maybe guys even at Slippery Rock. They have blowers. So, I mean, they're going to be able to, in between a rock and a hard place, they have to sign guys from FCS. They might have to take a couple of D2 guys who have never, they're going to take probably a record amount of guys who have never played a snap yet, who come from another D1 program. I mean, they're just going to have to take everything they can get. But hey, good news, the portal is absolutely loaded. I mean, there's so many kids, and unfortunately, not everybody's going to get picked up. But guys that are going to be needing a home are going to look to go to Penn State because Matt Campbell's a heck of a recruiter though. He's had a lot of his guys poached at Iowa State commits that never got to fully get there, or poached from guys that are already on the team and hit the portal. So I do think Matt Campbell can do it. I thought Jeff Brom or Dayball or Sataki was maybe a good fit for Penn State, but the more I really kind of think of it, Matt Campbell kind of fits their mantra, just kind of their personality. He's kind of stoic. He's not flashy at all. He just wants to go in there and win. I think he could do it. But man, I think this exact situation, what we're talking about, is why a lot of people, backed off from going to Penn State.
Dalton, your thoughts on the whole Penn State? Can Campbell do it, or is he basically in for like 2 years of hell?
I was going to say it's going to take 2 or 3 classes to get over this. Honestly, I think just the depth of your team having two guys, that's just there's no depth anymore. I mean, everybody's gonna have to hit. You're gonna have to hope everybody stays healthy, and that's not gonna happen in football. You never stay healthy. Nobody stays healthy completely. The team usually wins, but nobody's fully healthy. Penn State's gonna they're just gonna have to have the number one portal class this year. Probably gonna have to have the number one next year to be competitive at all, and that's asking a lot because they got a quarterback coming back. Ethan Grunkemeyer, I do like him. He had a good finish to the year. Almost beat Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, he played better against Indiana than Julian Sayin did, I think, with worse receivers. So that's one good game he had at least. So there's flashes there. He has some to work with there. James Franklin didn't leave the team completely bare. They got talent on the team. It's this year's recruiting class, though. I think I mean, like Dan said, I think that's why a lot of people didn't take the job, man. It's a 2 or 3 year rebuild here, and most teams, you can rebuild in 1 year, especially with the portal. So this is a really tough job for Campbell, but I think he's a really good coach. If anybody can do it, I think he's the type of guy that can. I mean, we never seen him compete for championships or anything, but he definitely put Iowa State on the map. They were pretty much nothing before he came along there.
Yeah, I think they might know it's going to be a rebuild because considering they gave him an 8-year deal. But yeah, I don't think the expectations are too high in Happy Valley right now.
This is a question for both of you. When Daniel, you can go first, and then Dalton second. Why didn't they hire Campbell earlier? I mean, it's as soon as they knew that Signetti was off the table, as soon as they knew Rule was off the table, it seemed like Kalani Sitake, you probably in the back of your mind knew, yeah, he's not leaving. Jeff Brom, you probably knew, yeah, he's not leaving. Unless you got stupid, like 15 million a year, 10-year deal, they weren't leaving. So if put yourself in Pat Kraft's mind, why didn't he hire Campbell like a week before this happened? Why did he have to wait till almost 2 days after the whole recruiting class?
Go ahead, Dalton.
Oh, I think it's just he wasn't the guy he wanted. And yeah, he's solid and he's good, but it was just something about him he didn't want. I guess it's personal about it's just what he evaluated in guys. I guess he wanted Brom and he wanted to talk even more. Yeah, the offers weren't good enough. Clearly, they didn't offer enough bag to get them guys, and I don't blame Penn State because they weren't going to win first year with anybody unless they got Signetti, like you said. So I think that's why they waited. It wasn't really the guy they wanted, but it's a damn good backup plan. I mean, for what fifth backup plan, fourth backup plan, whatever. It's probably the fourth, fifth backup plan I've ever seen. So I'll give Penn State AD the credit for that. And I mean, Campbell just really must have wanted out because I mean he knew he was the fifth choice too. I mean, he ain't stupid. He's seen it like everybody else. So he must have really wanted out of there, and I don't blame him. I mean, Iowa State is a really hard place to recruit, really hard place to win it consistently. So they don't have a lot of NIL. So I don't blame him for leaving.
What about you, Daniel? Did Pat Kraft basically like shoot too high and not just go for a good pick, or was there something that if you were the Penn State AD, you would look at Campbell and I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it could have been a situation. Maybe they didn't know how much money they were going to have after buyouts or something. I think that maybe could have been a play, but it's a real head scratcher to see why he didn't make a move early. The coaching market was pretty thin. They were going to have to pretty much pry someone from their home, and a lot of these guys were trying to pry or at their alma mater. I mean, you look at a Kenny Dillingham; he's from Arizona State. Jeff Brom from Louisville. So you have a lot of guys who have ties to where they're already at, to where they're almost in can't lose situations. Where then you go to Penn State, where they just fired a coach who was just in the playoffs. So I think that scared off some people. But the question, why didn't they find their guy sooner? I just don't know. I think maybe they were waiting to see, who was going to be available or try to make somebody available that wasn't going to be available. I think their branding's just not as strong as they thought. I think they could have just said, all right, we're Penn State. We're going to just be able to get anyone at any time because we're Penn State. I just don't think that's as big as a job as it was 8 years ago, 5 years ago, in my opinion. So I think it was a perfect storm. I think they got a little bit complacent. And then everyone on the other end, everyone kind of said, all right, that's a hard job. And they also was like, the leash is going to be very short. I'm good where I'm at.
Let's go to the guy that made the most news during this whole thing. No, if it wasn't a coach, it wasn't a team. It's Chris Henry Jr. All right, I gotta ask: is he that and a whole bag of chips? I mean, is he gonna be like the legendary Marcus Dupree, who we heard? Oh yeah, this guy's gonna be the greatest thing ever. He's gonna be the best thing since sliced bread or deep dish cheese pizza, and he's actually not. Or is this Marvin Harrison Jr. 2.0? Like, what should we make of Chris Henry Jr.? And are you surprised that this thing went as long as it did? Dalton will go with you and then Daniel.
I mean, he's a really good player. He's 6'5", 205. He's great size for a receiver, prototypical X receiver. He can win jump balls. He's physical, but I mean, he's not the consensus number one receiver in the class. So definitely, I mean, he's not head and shoulders above everybody. A lot of people got Tristan Keys from Tennessee ahead of him, and then some people even got Calvin Russell ahead of him going to Syracuse. So it's about who you ask. And what do you want in your receiver? I mean, Keys is 6'2", 180. He's more of a speedster. He's going to roll past people, and he's going to be more explosive. Calvin Russell, same way, 6'5", 195, another speedster, but he's also got a little bit of size. He's the best of both. Chris Henry's really good. His name kind of helps, like I think always in this situation. If you have a name that people recognize, you're going to get a little, people are going to talk about you more and more. And then the way his recruiting went, also put him in the spotlight. I mean, Keys didn't really have any question about where he was going. You heard about Russell too from his commitment, but Henry's really good. Just he's not head and shoulders the best receiver in this class, though. But I think he's going to produce better than anybody in this class, just because he's going to Ohio State, and that's the guys. That's the school that produces receivers better than ever. We'll see without Heartline, though. I mean, it's a new era there, so it's a new. There's question marks at Ohio State now in the receiver room, if you ask me.
Daniel, he made his day. Chris Henry Jr. literally went for his announcement. It wasn't on just like your show. It wasn't on John Vogel of Draft Vogel or his podcast. No, it was on the Pat McAfee show. Like this kid's almost like bred to be a superstar. So is he that good, or is Dalton right? Like is he a bit like okay, not overrated, but maybe a bit overhyped?
Yeah, I just think he kind of has a thing working against him where he's on such a good team. He plays for Modern Day High School. That guy who I mentioned earlier, who's going to USC, the tight end Mark Bowman, he was on his team there at Mater Day, and they're just loaded with guys. The ball can only go so many places. It's kind of like Ohio State with Jeremiah Smith. It's just like they have so many weapons to where he doesn't really get to highlight, I think, his skills as much as some players do. It was great to see Pat McAfee to have him on the show. Since he played with his dad at West Virginia. So yeah, I do think he consensus number one, but I do think he's number one. It's not consensus. I think Calvin Russell is an absolute dog, which all it makes it all that more impressive that Syracuse got him. But I think the timing of Hartline leaving kind of had him a little bit surprised. Supposedly he didn't know Hartline was leaving. Then Hartline skips off to South Florida, which I think is a great job. So I think that had him questioning a little bit at the end. It's like, okay, what system am I playing in? Everything that's been told to me for the last year of how I'm going to be getting used and what system, who I'm playing with, all that may change at the drop of a hat. And I got to go and choose which hat I'm choosing to, put on and go. So I think that was a little bit of question. I thought honestly he was going to go to Oregon at the end, but with Will Stein leaving as well, it's like, all right, it's might as well just stick with where you've been committed, all this time. I will say I was a little kind of rubbed the wrong way because he's been committed for so long. He was 100% committed. The recruiting's locked down, but there were still some questions at the end. But the Heartline, I think, just threw a wrench in the whole process. He had to just kind of maybe sleep on it, double, triple, make sure he still wanted to be a Buckeye. I think that's what, kind of drug this out. But I do think he's a heck of a talent. He's a heck of a talent, man. I don't see this guy could have went anywhere. He could have went to Arkansas Pine Bluff, and we'd have known where he was at. It's kind of like a Travis Hunter thing. He went to Jackson State, pretty much, took a year off on playing really good guys. This guy could do the same. He's so talented. 6'5" receiver. I mean, come on. It's just but Calvin Russell's 6'5", like we just said. So I think he's a heck of a talent, and yeah, he's gonna have a long career, man.
I want an answer from both you guys. We'll start with Dalton, then you, Daniel. Does it worry you that he's already making a $500,000 from his NIL deal with Adidas, from Ohio State package? There's you hear there's probably other, endorsement deals with probably like, Beats by Dre, I've heard rumors of, or even
Oh yeah, this guy's gonna
Gatorade.
see a
Like
lot.
when you have a high school kid that's making that much money, how much pressure is there in him to deliver, and how does he live up to this hype that, oh, you're gonna be as good as your dad, maybe even better because you're not a head case. Hey, you're gonna be, dare I say, as good as Jeremiah Smith. Like if you're a coach, how do you get this kid not to just get overwhelmed or get a big head when he's already making probably more than half the assistant coaches on the staff?
I think it's just, he knows where he's going. He's going to Ohio State. He ain't going to get handed anything. I think he knows that. I mean, you have to produce to get on the field. You see Brandon Ennis got benched. this year, and he was a former 5 star. He was got all the chances in the world, but if you don't produce, he's going to bench you. So he's going to have to produce. But I think we don't know the kid. Obviously, we don't know how he's going to handle it. But I think the experience his family has will help him out a lot. Hopefully he has a good support system around him, and they'll be able to help him not make the same mistakes his father made, and just really focus on his career and make it to the next level. And I think Ohio State's the best place to do that. I mean, no off-field issues there really since Ryan Day's been in charge. If it has, it's been something small, nothing crazy going on Ohio State off the field. And so I think he's in a great spot to succeed. I mean, wide receiver you, if not, it's LSU. So best spot for him to develop. And if he's gonna live up to it anywhere, it's here. It's just the only question is like motivation level. If you're already getting paid that much, there's definitely motivation questions like my workout is hard. I'm already getting paid 500,000. So that's the only question. But I think the coaching staff is gonna get it out of him.
Daniel, is he worth it? And as you said, how tough is it when I know they set Ennis, and that's a big deal because he's a five-star recruit. But Daniel, you know this. This is a celebrity's kid. This is the kid who probably from day one when he was born, people are like, hey, if he has any of his dad's genes, he's gonna be a star. So again, for you, how do you rein a kid in like this if you're Ohio State and when already people are going, hey, 3 years, number one pick, top five. This kid has all the good genes, as they say. And no, not the ones that Sydney Sweeney is wearing. We're talking, like DNA genes.
Yeah, it's like you said, it makes it the most crapshoot. Even with a guy like 6'5" and has the genes, it's still a question mark at the end of the day of how motivated are you with all these bells and whistles. I mean, even NIL is getting approved in high school. The state of Ohio just approved NIL for high school players next season. So we're going to see players getting paid, rolling up in the prom, not in their uncle's Camaro. It's going to be their Camaro, and it's going to be their stuff sitting on 24. It's going to be theirs. We're the toothpaste is out of the tube. We can never go back to where we are. Yes, the players should have been getting paid, but it was never governed right. But Ohio State prints money. The money's not going to be an issue. What they're paying him is not going to be an issue. They're not going to be able to pay him enough for the revenue he's about to bring them, and they're already printing money. I mean, the amount of jerseys this guy is going to sell, just the hype, we've been talking about this kid for a year. He hasn't played it down yet. And so, but is it worth it as having to rein him in and get him to buy into the program? That's where you don't know that until you get him on campus. Kirby Smart has a process where, even when they got recruits on visits, they tell them, if you ain't ready to go full pads every day, then don't come here. They do not go a practice without pads on at Georgia. That's just not what they do. And you just have to find your type of kid. Is he an Ohio State kid? Is he not just a really good receiver's son? I think he is an Ohio State guy. I think he's gonna. From what I've seen, from what I've heard, I haven't heard any like this, character issues out of him or anything like that. And but we don't know. We're not gonna know until he gets on there. Until we've seen so many guys go to D1 and just not pan out. Guys, me and Dalton played against that were all Americans. Just they get to the college and they just don't pan out. They're not the fastest guy on the field anymore. They're not the biggest guy on the field anymore. So we're going to find out. Time will tell. That's what makes this thing so great. But I do think he's as prepared. You have to do as least amount of coaching to this guy as you do, with most players. You just kind of have to fine tune this guy as opposed to rebuild anything.
All right, let's go to transfer portal. And Daniel, we'll start with you because you're a little more grounded. Now, Dalton is like the president of the fan club here. That is Jamal Craig of Harvard has entered the transfer portal. There were some people like, hey, he might go in the NFL draft. Nope, he's actually transferring from Harvard to be determined. Daniel, how tough is it scouting a kid who you look and he looks great. The highlights are there, but then you start going, oh yeah, it's the Ivy League. Half these kids, we're not even. It's so like Cole Pate. Oh my God, half these kids will probably be working like in Lowe's or in like Home Depot or in Harvard's case and the Ivy League, yeah, they'll be working as stockbrokers or like corporate raiders. So. How do you judge how good Jamal Craig is if you're a college football coach trying to figure out, do I want to recruit this kid?
Yeah, we're talking about an even bigger crapshoot when you're looking at bringing guys up from the FCS level. You look at mechanics, in my opinion. That's what I look at. I look at mechanics. Mechanics. Can this guy? I really don't even look at who he's playing against. And I would just look in his pocket, and his pocket presence is good. Does he command the offense? The Ivy League does have some players. I mean, we've seen a lot of guys transfer up from Harvard these last couple of years. So they do have a lot of ballers. It's gotten better. The transfer portal has a lot of negatives, but it's helped FCS guys who just are getting kicked out by new coaches and FBS programs that have the talent, but they're having to go to the FCS level more than ever at this point. But when you look at a scout at FCS guy, in my opinion, it's all about mechanics. A bunch of them are going to have big stats. A bunch of them are going to put up a bunch of numbers. You got Peterson there at Monmouth, who's put up big numbers this year at the FCS level. And then you got like this guy, Jaden Craig. He's the third rated quarterback in the portal right now. He's behind Colton Joseph at Old Dominion and behind Kenny Minchie there at Notre Dame. So I just look at mechanics. I'm big on that because the level of competition, you're going to have a 6'2" right tackle in the FCS level. So, you're not going to go against too much, familiar competition as opposed to body type. So I look at mechanics personally.
All right, Dalton. I've been told that you are basically the unofficial Jaden Craig publicist. That you're like, hey, no, 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 this guy belongs at Penn State. No, no, you know what? Let's do Nebraska. Hey, you know what? He even could belong in, dare I say, Auburn. So sell it to us here. If you are, let's say, anywhere from Boston College, Penn State, Auburn, even dare I say Arizona State, which they're looking for a quarterback. We'll get into that later. Why is Jaden Craig a guy that you would go pound the table and say, you need to recruit this guy? This will be your starting quarterback. This guy is the real deal, in your opinion.
Well, I think number one, he looks good. I mean, the competition level it goes two ways. I mean, you're playing with the O line that's not as good as you would view behind an FBS level too. The receivers aren't as good either. Running backs aren't as good. I mean, it ain't just the defense is not as good. You're playing with lesser players too. So when you're evaluating that, you got to look at that. You got to take that into play too. His teammates aren't as good either. But Harvard also had Cooper Barkate transfer to Duke this year. He was their leading receiver. So Harvard has had some good players, and they proved that they can translate it. I think his best fit is Boston College so far. I mean, Dylan Longer and into the transfer portal, major vacancy there. He spent 3 years in the Boston area code, being at Harvard. So he can remain close to his surroundings, his family. And then, of course, he's got Bill O'Brien there. I think that's the biggest draw about Boston College. I know he's a little bit of luster, a lot of luster, I guess, it's or off of Bill O'Brien. But there's still a few college coaches that have the NFL level background he does at quarterback position. And the pro style offense he runs, I think it could give Craig the developmental bridge he needs to reach the next level and get drafted earlier than the last few rounds. So I think Boston College would be his number one choice. I don't think he's like Auburn ready. I don't think if he goes to Auburn or it'd be similar to Trinidad Chambliss last year. He would go in as a backup, like Trinidad was supposed to be at the beginning of the year behind Austin Simmons, maybe hope for an injury or underperform by the starter to get a chance. So I think that's why Boston College would be the best choice. He could be a starter there for sure. And then Rutgers also, I think, would be a great choice if you don't go to BC. I mean, also in the same area, And then Greg Schiano, very tough coach, good program. Kelly Manis he's out of eligibility, so they definitely need a starter. And they got good receivers, man. KJ Duff and Ian Strong. If he goes there, his offense could be good as it was this year, The defense is what struggled at Rutgers. So I think Rutgers and BC right now is the two leaders. And then the dark horses would be Virginia Tech, James Franklin getting them if he can't find somebody maybe a little better.
What about you, Daniel? Could he land someplace bigger? Like, could he end up in Penn State, or could he end up in even Vanderbilt? Which, hey, they need a quarterback. It's they don't have the NIL money that the Georgia or Texas Tech or Miami has. But could that be the guy where we go from Diego Pavia to Jaden Craig?
Man, I think it's possible. I really love that Dalton pointed out Boston College. That's where I had the best fit for him. He's a Northeast guy. He's from Jersey, and he chose to play Northeast. I'm sure he could have had an offer to go somewhere play down south. So you got a guy who grew up in the cold and chose to continue play in the cold. So if I'm a Northeast guy, Boston College or maybe a Penn State, I'll take that. Depends if you want to maybe bargain a little bit on your quarterback. If you're a P4 like a Penn State, I mean, they want to save some money and maybe beef up their offensive line. Like, all right, we'll take this FCS guy because we got such a good offensive line. But as an SEC school, I'm kind of on the fences with that. I mean, could you look at a Kentucky? I know Kentucky's supposed to be landing a couple of guys. I think Novastad's supposed to be coming over from Oregon. So we don't know if that's going to happen. I would like to see him at a G5 or a small, P4. We'll see, like maybe like a Wake Forest or something like that. Rutgers was a good one as well with Ian Strong, KJ Duff, absolute playmakers. And James Franklin, what's he going to do? That's a good one Dalton brought up as well. I just don't see this guy, yeah, like just coming in as a day one starter at a school like an Auburn, but Penn State could take him. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Penn State walks in day one with this guy at their quarterback. It really wouldn't surprise me at all.
I think if Penn State goes with him, it's a battle for him though. Grunkemeyer is, I mean, he's
Yeah.
a legit prospect, you know.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I think that they're not going to. I don't think that's what I'm saying. You have to think how many programs are just going to hand the keys over to him. Like, yeah, we'll let you can come in and put in for a contention, but it's not yours to lose day one. I don't know how many teams could do that. I don't know how many teams are ready to do that because that's a risk.
Well, speaking of risk, Sam Levitt right now, as of now, right now, and trust me, this might get crazy next couple of weeks with, Kendall Browse going to South Carolina, Miami always in the hunt for, their, quarterback and looking at maybe throwing big bags of money at the people. But, oh, sorry, we went ahead here. Sam Levitt, the number one quarterback right now in the transfer portal. So Daniel, we'll go to you, Vin Dalton. Is he worth it? For a guy who sort of disappeared? We don't know what happened. He got injured, then he didn't show up for the team for Arizona State. Is if you are, one of these Power Four conferences and you're looking for a quarterback and you want an upgrade, whether it's Lane Kiffin, whether it's James Franklin, hey, whether it's Texas Tech and Joey McGuire. What would worry you about Sam Levitt, where it's like, yeah, yeah, he's great, but I don't know if we want to give him a bag of money and just give him the starting job.
I think it's all about what you want. I mean, this guy has proven production. He's been in the college football playoff. He reminds me of a John Mateer a lot. I think he is worth it for a lot of schools. I think LSU is going to be on him. I think Dalton's Florida Gators are going to be on him pretty heavy. This guy's going to be able to choose wherever he wants to go. There's just not that many quarterbacks out there with production. There's a lot of guys with potential. I mean, we can name 10 quarterbacks that haven't played a snap yet that could start next year at a bunch of programs. So me and Dalton predicted 50 vacancies next year for FBS teams, and we have to add Arizona State on here. So there's going to be a lot of teams with some quarterback turnover. Even teams that, I mean, how many? We have multiple teams last year who were in the playoff who turned over their quarterback this year. Arizona State wasn't one of those teams, but he ended up getting hurt. Um, I think you definitely, if I was a coach at any level, I'm trying to get Sam Levitt. He's reminds me of Haynes King. I mean, this guy he's like Haynes King with me. I think he throws it better. So yeah, all day. I think he's definitely going to be a P4 starter next year, and it won't be a lateral move. It'll be a move up.
Dalton, would it bother you that that Arizona State still won with Jeff Sims? That they look better at times with Jeff Sims and Sam Levitt? Like if you're Lane Kiffin, if you're John Summerall, is there a worry that Levitt's too much of a great athlete who still is trying to learn the finer points of being a quarterback?
I'm already hearing hype that Lagway is going to be great in this system that Summerall's bringing over. I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic. Trust me. I'm not. I'm not going to sit here and say Lagway is the answer. So, if Levitt wants to come to Florida, we'll let him come. Yes, absolutely. More competition, the better. If Lagway can beat him out, then yeah, hell yeah, let him play. But if not, we got a great backup plan. I think he's worth a risk for sure. I mean, what he did last year, Arizona State was crazy. They were projected to finish last in the conference. I know he had Cam Scatterboo, and yeah, he was one of the best backs in the country, if not the best. But still, man, he made some huge throws last year, huge runs, especially. They almost beat Texas in the playoffs, a team that nobody gave him a shot against. Took him to overtime, I think. So I think if he's healthy and he's got a good receiving core. I mean, he's only had Jordan Tyson to throw to, and then a bunch of skeletons out there. So if he has two or three receivers, I mean, we haven't seen the. I don't think we've seen this guy's ceiling yet, and he's only a redshirt sophomore. So I would be surprised if he goes somewhere big and has a huge year, and I mean, goes back to the playoff.
So gun to your head, Dalton, then you, Daniel, where does Sam Levitt end up? Like, give me like three teams you would go, these are the favorites to land, Sam Levitt in the transfer portal.
Well, I think it's only going to be SEC or Big Ten. This guy's not going from a Big 12 to an ACC school or Big 12 to another Big 12 school, in my opinion. Um, I think he's going to be at LSU. I would say LSU, Auburn's going to offer him as well, and then maybe a third team. Throw in Kentucky, and then maybe throw in. Uh, I
So
mean
no
Penn State.
Miami to you. No, Miami Hurricanes are off your list for him, or
They
can they
could,
sneak in with a big bag of money and go, hey, we have a lot of hot women
yeah,
around here.
yeah, they're going to definitely offer him. Yeah, they're going to definitely offer him. I just don't know if he'll go. They have a lot of talent though. Malachi Tony. Some people are saying he might leave, but yeah, I would say I just this guy just tells me for some reason it just tells me he really wants to play in the SEC. So I think those if Mateer leaves, maybe he goes and fills in Oklahoma. So those would be the schools that came to my list. So yeah, I would maybe throw Miami in there. Let's go ahead. Yeah, I would say LSU, Miami. Those would be yeah. I think those will be my top two there, and then yeah, I think I would be. I don't think you would go anywhere else besides those.
What about you, Dalton? Give me your like hot takes for who could land Sam Levitt in your mind. Like, who are the favorites?
I think LSU as well is up in the top three, but then I think a team you didn't mention that could definitely get them is Indiana. You seen him go with Rourke and Mendoza back to back years. They got Mendoza's little brother, but he's really young. Who knows if they want a bridge year for him or not? If so, this is the perfect guy to do it. So Indiana for sure. I mean, with their success, I think they can land them. And then dark horse would be Oklahoma. I mean, Mateer's he's probably he's graduating, right? Oh no, he got a year left eligibility.
He's
Yeah,
got a year, but I
so
think he's gonna come out.
he's gonna come out most likely. That's what I'm
Maybe.
thinking.
Yeah.
So just because his class ain't strong,
Yeah.
so Oklahoma, if Mateer leaves, is a huge spot too. And then Texas Tech, like you mentioned earlier, I think he could go there too. But I like Will Hammond. I think they give Will Hammond a shot. So I don't know if they will. I don't know if they'll offer Levitt, but I think they should.
Well, let's go over the rest of the transfer portal class. And right now, it's two of the big sexy names I've heard: Nick Marsh from Michigan State, Josh Atkins from Arizona State. Atkins supposedly right now is the number one probably player. He's a left tackle. Everybody needs a left tackle. You guys are following the transfer portal. You guys are on top of this. So give me some people right now that we should know that are hitting the transfer portal and teams are going to be calling hot and heavy, going, "Hey, come to our school." Give me some like. We'll start with you, Daniel. Give me five players who you are probably in your mind the best transfer players as of now.
Well, Josh Atkins is definitely going to be among those. There's going to be you always need O line help. Keep the quarterback jerseys clean. I think South Carolina is going to be in the market for each and every offensive lineman that shows any potential that they even touched the field this year. Considering the year they had, you got a guy like Daniel Harris, a corner at Georgia, who I like. I like a guy, Perry Thompson, there, wide receiver from Auburn as well. Those are guys, but look at Dylan Edwards. I mean, Dylan Edwards coming from K State, Kansas State. We'll see where he goes. Very curious. We've already seen guys come off the board, though. We did have number 5 overall, Noah McKinney, inside offensive lineman, go from Oklahoma State to TCU. So can't tell me there wasn't any tampering right there. It's tampering season right now. And, Boo Carter and Nick Marsh are going to be two guys that everyone's going to be looking at. But those guys are big. But a guy like Colton Joseph is a sleeper to me. Quarterback from Old Dominion. Supposedly Louisville Cardinals are hot and heavy for him. They really want him. We'll see if that happens. Those are the guys I would say right now. And then we're just going to have so many sleepers, though. We're going to have a lot of guys like, a Taven Jackson. Does Taven Jackson, a quarterback from UCF, pop up next year and have a Talon Green, scouting report on him just as an athlete? Is he going to get a shot? But those are the guys I would say. So I would say that Nick Marsh, Boo Carter, and Dylan Edwards. I'm really curious about those three.
What about you, Dalton? Who are your right now like top transfer portal players right now? Like I'm not talking. Well, we've heard whispers, rumors. Like from what we know, Who are your like top three transfer players in the portal?
I mean, yeah, the guys you mentioned, I'll go with first. Nick Marsh, I had him, Boot Carter, Dylan Edwards, Colton Joseph. I also had some other guys though. Kenny Minchey, from Notre Dame. He looked good when he's played. Obviously, he's been in blowouts, but he's really mobile. Looks like he can throw the ball too. So I'm excited to see him, see if he can get a starting job somewhere. Now, Kamori House from UNC, he was their best linebacker this year. He hit the portal. I think he's going to be able to go pretty much anywhere he wants because linebackers are always in need. And then Texas got two running backs in the portal already, CJ Baxter and Jarrett Gibson. CJ Baxter, I think, be the better one of the two, but they're both solid. They're both going to find a home in a Power Four team. And then Jaheim White is a really underrated one from West Virginia. He's been injured a lot, but when he's healthy, he's the best player on their team at West Virginia, and he has been for the past 2 years. He just can't stay on the field. If he goes somewhere to stay healthy, he's gonna have a huge year, similar to Ahmad Hardy, Fluff Bothwell kind of guy. And then another backup quarterback from Purdue, I'm actually excited about Malachi Singleton. He was at Arkansas before he went to Purdue this year. When he played, he looked really good running the ball. I mean, he has some ways to go throwing the ball, but he can run it. He's a great running quarterback. And with a good system that runs the ball out with the quarterback, to the lane or something, I think he'd be a good fit. So those are the guys right now. But man, we're just scratching the surface. Every day we're going to get more and more impact guys.
Yeah, another guy sleeper I want to add just that I didn't mention is Israel Polk, wide receiver from Akron. So he's a
Oh
big guy
yeah,
as well. Yeah, he's a
yeah,
tough
good
guy.
year.
So yeah, he's pretty good.
Give me some small school players. Like we saw Ahmad Hardy go from a small school to Missouri, and all of a sudden now many people say he was the best running back in all of college football. Or we saw Trinidad Chambliss, Division two quarterback, then make his way to Ole Miss, and now he's led them into the college football playoffs. Give me for you, like who are the small school FSC teams that you're looking at that are in the transfer portal that you're going, hey, you know what? Teams should take a run at these guys, whether they're that good or even Power Five school guys, where you're looking at going, damn, they're gonna be an impact player. Some team's gonna grab them, and they're gonna go, yep, this guy is ready to launch himself. Start with you,
Yeah, I think
Dalton, then go with you, Daniel.
I think one guy's Darren Conley from Ball State, 6'3", 284 D lineman, great size. Looks like he can play inside or outside. Very versatile, so I think he can make an impact. And then a guy committed from Kansas from Grand Valley. He's a D lineman, Jabril Condi, already committed to Kansas. So like you said, probably some tampering there, but he's already committed. I think he can make a big impact. He's ranked 23rd in the portal, and he's the second highest ranked FCS player. And then Marcus Stokes, a quarterback from West Florida. I think he's the highest ranked D2 quarterback this year, and everybody's talking about him. If you haven't heard about him, you should look up his highlights. He's a beast, and I think his school's going to get him too. So I think those are the best small school guys right now. I mean, we haven't had many many impact transfers yet.
Daniel, what about you? What small school gems do you have on your like Christmas list? You're going, hey, they need to land at certain programs.
Yeah, so the big one I have a North Dakota transfer D lineman Emmanuel Alagbaju. He's going to be a stud next year. I'm telling you, he's going to be a really good guy. He's just a force on the edge. FCS is known to always bring good edges up to the FBS level and even get drafted straight from FCS. So he's a guy that's going to be on the lookout. Like I said, Israel Polk from Akron's another guy. The Old Dominion quarterback who I spoke about earlier. He's a good, but I'm really curious to see a couple of guys. There's a slippery rock quarterback right now. He's not in the portal yet, but I hope he gets in the portal. And then we have a West Georgia a quarterback there. Do you know that name of that West Georgia quarterback? He was supposed to, or West, yeah, West, or
The
was
West
it?
Florida guy,
Yes, Florida. West
yeah,
Florida.
yeah, that's what I said. Stokes,
Oh,
yeah, Stokes is
yeah,
good.
Stokes. Yeah, that's my guy as well. So those right now, our lists are going to it'll get bigger. There's to be that when the portal window opens up officially, that'll be crazy in the playoffs. So yeah, those are the big guys right now. But I'm all in on right now Emmanuel Alibaju from the Fighting Hawks of North Dakota. That's my big guy right now. I'll have some more down the line, but right now that's who I'm sold on the most.
I want to talk about one of the most controversial transfers. Again, Jackson Arnold went to Oklahoma. As many people tell me, it was a bad situation there. Transferred to Auburn. Once again, that was a bad situation in which during the Oklahoma game they chanted "F Jack F F Arnold." That's very colorful here. Let's say you are Arnold's aide de camp. You're his manager. You're his agent. Where should he go? Like, where would if you are Jackson Arnold's, let's say mystery, like a wise man? Where would you tell him to go? Should he go like Power Five, FSC? Like, how would you rebuild a guy who, in both stops, it's been almost like he's become public enemy number one. Daniel will go with you and Vin Dalton because I know both of you guys have thought like, oh crap, Jackson Arnold's again in the transfer portal. This kid can't catch a break.
I thought this guy was definitely going to give us a break, and I thought this was his last year, but I was definitely proven wrong. So yeah, he's back in the portal. I think maybe a team like Central Florida, something like that, could maybe work out for him, like a lower Big 12 school, something like that. I mean, but G5 could definitely just be the best option for him to just run up some numbers, and see where you're at. But a lot of G5 guys, they like to go for guys who they don't take as many sacks as he does. I mean, this guy took a lot of sacks. Um, he just didn't have the year they thought. I think he's going to get a lot of these guys are going to get benefit of the doubts either from GMs in the drafts that are coming out that come from bad coaching. And he's another one that's maybe going to get another shot at a decent program because of the coaching situation he's coming from. It's just not ideal. Everyone knows Auburn's just been a shitstorm for some years now. So yeah, I think maybe like a Central Florida as far as a P4. And then if you maybe Louisville loves a nice, just decent run of the mill quarterback. But yeah, if I was him, if I look at it from the coach's point, if I'm a P4, do I want to touch Jackson Arnold right now? Most of them it's a no. So I would say like a Central Florida or a G5.
Dalton, you are the Paul Heyman wise man of Jackson Arnold. Where are you telling him, hey, this is where you're gonna go. This is where you should transfer to.
I mean, I'm telling them right now, you're going to go the best place that gives you a starting job. If that's
Yeah.
any spot. If a place guarantees you a starting job, you're going to go there because you ain't going to have many guaranteed, I don't think. And if he's in a battle, I'm not sure he's going to win it. I'm just being honest. So that's what I'm telling him. If I'm in his support system, man, like whoever hits you up and says, hey, you can come in here and start. You get QB1 till you lose the job. I think he should go there, depending on no matter what the size is. I mean, the biggest school that offers him that is where he should go. You don't want to sit on the bench. It's probably his last shot. So he needs to go somewhere he can play and somewhere he knows he can play. That's all I would tell him. I mean, he's he's not gonna get a big time offer though. I mean, he's not gonna be playing in the SEC again. He's not gonna be playing in the SEC again.
No way.
So last two questions let's go. First, give me some people that you think will transfer. Like we've heard now, like wild rumors, like hey, Josh Hoover might be on the move to South Carolina. Hey, Lenore Sellers might be on the move to Miami, Tennessee. Pick your team, whichever has the biggest bag of money. Drew Mestamaker, they think either Oklahoma State or Texas Tech. Once again, coach versus a whole pile of money. Give me your like five guys you could see transfer and like which ones are you expecting to transfer? We'll start with you, Dalton, then go with you, Daniel.
Oh yeah, for sure. I could see DJ Lagway transferring from Florida for sure. He hasn't produced this year, and I don't think the new coach is somewhere else going to give him a starting spot guaranteed. He's going to have a conversation with them. So after that, he might leave. Um, LSU, they could have Michael Van Buren could hit the portal. If Kiffin doesn't give him the job, I can see Van Buren leaving. And I like Van Buren. I think he's got talent to play somewhere, just not at LSU probably. Um, Trinidad Chambliss, if he gets his under year eligibility, which he's trying to, he could leave. I mean, there's just so many quarterbacks you could see. Lenore Sellers for sure. Start with him. He's at the top of the list, actually. I mean, if you don't transfer, I think he's crazy. That O line's not good. The Carver's probably gone. So he doesn't have anybody even throw it up to, and he's about to get sacked anymore. He's the guy that needs to leave. The biggest guy needs to leave. And then, unfortunately, Florida Gators, Jaden Ball might leave to second team All SEC, but his writing's already on the wall. Apparently, he took the Florida stuff out of his bio and all that. But you see it all the time, players stay. And then Ohio State, backup quarterback, Taven St. Clair. really big prospect. I mean, we seen him at the camp in our first one ever, and he's just a ball spinner, big guy, physical, can run, and he's not going to play at Ohio State. So I think he could be a guy that's out there in the portal, and he could be one of the biggest prizes out there.
Daniel, give
Love
me
it.
your names because I'm guessing you're like, oh my God, I'll see these. This guy might transfer. This guy might transfer. This guy definitely might transfer. Like, give me like six people you're thinking going, damn, they're big names and I can see them like out the door right now.
Yeah, coming into last season, I said if Lenore Sellers can't stay upright, he needs to go. So Lenore Sellers number one. He needs to seek refuge. Go into just a program that's going to develop you. It's not going to be at South Carolina. But we have some other guys here. I like the receiver, Danny Scudero from San Jose State. I think he should transfer, try to get up to a P4. He's only a sophomore, so I think he's got some eligibility. He's an absolute stud. We're going to see some other guys as well. I think that are just if Lewis Bond can get another year of eligibility, we might see that happen. Receiver from Boston College, but Sam Levitt, who we touched on, I hope he goes to a portal just because Arizona State's. I don't know why they're so strapped for NIL money, but they are. I don't know how. I thought there was a lot of money there, but I guess not. But those are my top two, and then guys who I think I would just want to see go. Tavian St. Clair, Dalton brought up. Me and him saw him play or at the Elite 11 camp, number 2 quarterback in the nation coming out. So I want to throw my quarterback in there. Another one is Auburn quarterback freshman Deuce Knight. I think they're going to be shopping around there at Auburn. They want to, first year coach Golish. Does he want to bring in Byron Brown from South Florida? Does he want to go get a vet? Another guy. So I look at Deuce Knight, who is a highly touted quarterback coming out of high school. Lefty, plays pretty good. You don't really even know he's a lefty. I was praying that JKS would leave Cal. I'm still praying. I'll tell you right now. I'm still hoping he has a change of heart and he leaves Cal. I want him gone. I want him at a program with receivers, with ball catchers, and with pass blockers. That's my big one. I'm just hoping I wake up and see that. It's kind of like when you see a murder victim that killed somebody and they're saying, well, they're going to appeal. It's like, yeah, good luck. Well, I'm hoping that we just see a total change of heart here from JKS at Cal.
Yeah, one more I got is Willie Washington from Maryland. I like to see him go somewhere better. I mean, they just haven't got it. They haven't got the rolling there at all at Maryland. I mean, they had a good recruiting class this year, two great DNs and Malik Washington, but they need better receivers and he needs a better line too. I like to see him go somewhere, transfer up for sure.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be fun. I think we're going to see, I think the biggest dominoes are going to have to fall. Then we'll see more people, go like Levitt and Sellers. Once we find out what they're doing, I think a lot of the other guys will take shape. We look at a Drew Mestamaker, who has from North Texas quarterback, who some people think he's going to go to Oklahoma State and follow his coach, but some people think he might not. So I'm curious to see. Hopefully, Drew Mestamaker, enters the portal as well. Great quarterback out of North Texas.
This is the question that everybody's been asked, whether it's you two, whether it's Nick Saban, whether it's even Pat McAfee, or even the President of the United States, Donald Trump. How the hell do you fix the transfer portal? Because you can tell that everybody's getting pissed. This has become a mercenary, it's a gun for hire. We've seen, some players transfer two, three, maybe even four times. Um, Coaches, they shortened the window, which was good, but it's still like, players can up and leave. They can go to different teams. There is tampering. Everybody feels there's got to be a better way. So how do you do it? Let's say I'm putting you, Daniel, and then you, Dalton, in charge of the NCAA. You, Charlie Baker is out. You two are in. How would you regulate the transfer portal where it's still player friendly, but it's not the Wild West where people can transfer almost as many times as they want?
Go ahead, Dalton.
Well, first off, I think they need to move the window back. February 1st, I think would be perfect timing. I mean, you just gotta let all the games play out. I hate when people leave them when the season's still going on. Even when your team's done, like yeah, Michigan State ain't making a bowl. That's still just wait till February. I think that would be a better. And then they should make a rule where you can only transfer once, and if you transfer again, you have to set out. Um that role would be huge. I mean, unless you have a coaching change, I think you could have you transfer twice. But if you not, I think if you transfer more than once, you just have to sit out a year, like the old days. I think that would make a lot of people transfer only once, and then it would make them not even transfer at all because they'd be like, "Damn, I'm not sure if this place is that much better. It's a risk. I can't leave if I go there." So I think those two things would really fix it. I don't think getting rid of the portal is gonna happen ever. I mean, we already here. I think it's too far gone to ever go back without it, especially with how much money these kids are getting. And the FCS guys, they're getting better. They want the opportunity. It's never gonna go anywhere. It's just you need to move it back. You have to move it back, and that's the biggest thing. It's just the timing of it. January 9th or whatever it is way too soon.
How about you, Daniel? Should there be an enforcement of new rules where kids can't transfer more than once, otherwise it's set out a year, 2 years, or do you have any ideas of how to fix the transfer portal that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, I mean it's been a mess. Like I said, we're gonna have to move the portal back. The fact that the portal is open while games are still being played is ass backwards. It's asinine. Makes no sense. Why am I having to recruit players while I'm trying to win games? It's the reason why the low Lane Kiffin situation played out like it did. Um, but I think you're gonna have to have revenue sharing. I think from just like I said, revenue sharing and salaries. I think if you know committing, that's a whole other thing. It's like people don't know who they're getting until they're actually there. It's just and the timing. The window is a big one. You have to start there. How many times you get transfer? If you transfer once, you get one transfer. After that, I think there should have to be a coaching change. You shouldn't have to. They got the one-time window, which was a big fix. That we're gonna really see how much that fixes, which I think it's going to be a lot. You had guys transferring in January, then turn around and transferring at the end of March. Like, what are we doing? So I think that's going to be a big one. But revenue sharing and actual contracts are what's going to have to happen. They're pretty much doing contracts now because when they're signing them out of high school, they're only telling them what they're paying them for the first 2 years, and they kind of revisit that. Like Bryce Underwood's a good example. They gave him 12 million for 2 years, and then after 2 years, it's kind of like a team option. They'll see and revisit what they want to do, and but that's a big one. Um, I think if they just change the portal, move it back till after the national championship, doesn't matter if it's at midnight after the national championship, just move it back to where guys know where they're going to go. And then, man, I think players, if you transfer, you just have to live up to the deal. We have Notre Dame sitting out of a bowl game. I mean, these are guys who are not going to be able to ever play football again. They didn't even know they played their last game. They didn't even know that was a lot of players didn't even know that was their last game. So we have guys sitting out. If you sign a contract, you can't sit out of the bowl. I know it doesn't matter. Things like that. We have to hold some of these players accountable. These kids are coming out of high school. They never have a car before. Their first car is a Hellcat and they're wrecking it. It's just, we're giving a lot of these kids too much too early, and we don't have the right people involved. We have guys that are having to rent these kids. I can't fix you, and I just got you in January, or I just got you in. We had this case, this portal window. We had guys transferring in June. We have games at the end of August. I can't fix you. I just need guys on my team. So the big two things is the window. We got to push it back, and we got to go to work. Unless there's a coaching change, you're only allowed to transfer one time.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we love having these guys on the show because they bring the heat. They're passionate and they pull no punches, take no dives on everything college football, high school football, and recruiting. I give you it's Dalton and Daniel of Home Squad Sports Podcast. So, gentlemen, where can the fans check you out at? Where is the Twitter, Instagram? There's probably a YouTube channel, a Rumble channel, the website. Where can fans check out Home Squad Sports?
Yeah, you can catch me in Dalton at Home Squad Sports and all those places. So anywhere you consume your content, we are on. We're mainly on X and Instagram, and those are our two main platforms. And you can catch us Monday at 12 p.m. and at Wednesday, so 8 p.m. So you'll be able to see us tonight there. And we got Brett Colajay coming on, USC commit. And me and Dalton, man, we love it. We can't wait to get into some more recruiting. I mean, recruiting's just heating up for us, getting our player watch list together, and then we got the draft. So as far as as well as you and Dalton, you all have been tag teaming on Draft Professor, and Um, Trust me, I've been tuning in a lot. It's been awesome to see.
Dalton, any final words? Any place, any other sites they could check you guys out? As I said, like, is there a Rumble channel, YouTube? Where else can fans check out your salty and spicy takes?
Yeah, both of those. I mean, just anywhere. Like X is our biggest following though. So if you want to go there, I mean, we get like we had 700 live a couple weeks ago. So keep following us on X, man. Shout out to everybody watching us.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. And shout out to Jim with Draft Professor, who, brought us all together. The reason why we're on here tonight. And man, it's always a blast. And it's my first time on Last Call. I think Dalton too. So it's been a blast. And it's been a blast, man. I can't say it enough.
Dalton and Daniel, Home Squad Sports, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, always an honor and a pleasure having you two on the show. We come back. We got a lot more going on here. Only on, it's Last Call. Last Call with the alcohol, only on the Last Call Podcast.com.